I grew up in Detroit. And too many times since the 15 years that I left, when someone asks me where I'm from, and I say, Detroit, they stop, they pause, and in a concerned tone, they ask me, what was that like? And I'm not the only one who feels this way, because every day in headline news, there is a new headline with a polarized opinion about Detroit. Even if you do a Google search, you might find some surprising things for what Detroit is. Detroit is dying. It's dead. Detroit needs to be bulldozed. Detroit needs Batman. And so we decided to find out for ourselves, and we made the trip out to Detroit. We drove to the heart of America. The state of Michigan is known as the Mitt, and Michiganders like to self-identify by pointing out on the Mitt where they're from. Detroit is in Wayne County. It is 139 square miles, and over 680,000 people live there. It's not dead, it's not dying. It's still very much alive. But there exists an incredible social divide. 80% of Detroit citizens are Black, compared to the surrounding neighborhoods where it's almost 80% white. And it doesn't stop there. There's an extreme class divide. 44% of Detroiters live well below the national poverty level. And for the purpose of this thesis, we're going to focus on what is happening within the city limits of Detroit and its emerging neighborhoods. We met with 20 Detroiters, change makers, investors, educators, journalists. And to organize everything that we learned, we looked through the lens of the IBM Smart Cities model. And today, we're going to highlight categories that focus on key human needs. If you get hurt in Detroit, or your grandmother is having a heart attack, you can't count on an ambulance to take you to the hospital because it takes an hour for it to arrive, compared to the national average of 11 minutes, or in cities like New York where it's only 2 to 3 minutes. High infant mortality rates are typically associated with developing countries, but in Detroit, it's more than double the national average. And despite the fact that Detroit and Michigan is surrounded by 25% of the world's fresh water supply, 3,000 customers a week are having their water shut off because they can't afford to pay the bill. And when you're walking home from work at night, you can't guarantee that a street light will be on because 35,000 of them don't even function. And despite the fact that Detroit is the Motor City, bus services have been reduced and are completely unreliable. And if you look at this graph, it may look like Detroit is actually winning the race, but in fact, it's pointing out that Detroit is leading the nation in homes without cars. In short, the city government is completely out of service, and it needs help.